We're going to turn now to the situation in Baltimore, where their cleanup crews remain trying to extract some debris, looking for bodies, and continuing to find out what the hell exactly happened in this horrific bridge collapse after that container ship struck it in the middle of the night. We have a little bit of a video from the scene. Let's take a listen.
It's a huge bridge. It's going to be in pieces and tangled. The water is murky, almost no visibility, and some current. So you combine all that, and very dangerous environment for divers to work. Picture a big, heavy Jenga game. It gets precarious, and it can all come down at any moment. I think there's a lot of urgency to not only recover the deceased, but open that channel and get the bottleneck of shipping flowing again. I would be guessing, because I'm not there and I have not seen this myself, but I would say we're looking at, days, not weeks, to move that ship and hopefully potentially clear the channel. It doesn't mean that the salvage will be over at that point. There will probably be debris and inspections and investigations going on for many weeks and months.
Pretty crazy that the ship remains entangled within the debris, including the crew, by the way, who remain on the ship. There's still some major questions as to how something like this happens. Let's put this up there. Our friends over at Lever News report this. Larry Hogan, the state's governor, now turned Senate candidate, has championed, quote, mega ships exactly like the one that destroyed the Baltimore bridge. So this is a big question around regulation and specifically also around the safety procedures that are involved. Now, I do want to say some of the first responders and the people who were involved, they immediately closed the bridge. They definitely saved lives. They worked incredibly well. But this, I think, goes at a level much higher than the individuals who were involved just on the night of, from the captain to those involved. There are major regulatory questions around these container megaships, which have been increasing in size. I personally have actually visited, and I'd recommend if you ever do too, go down to the Panama Canal and go see it for yourself. Specifically, the new part of the canal where these mega ships can actually make their way through. It is really difficult to actually grapple with how gigantic these things are, and then the level of infrastructure, machinery, and others that are necessary for them in our current infrastructure as compared to some of the older ships of just 25, even 30 years ago. It's gone exponential, and a lot of our policy has not kept up to date with that, Krystal.
Yeah, that's right. So this was the second major bridge that collapsed in similar circumstances. The federal guidelines to protect bridges were drafted following the 1980 collapse of the Tampa Bay Sunshine Skyway Bridge. We can actually put this article up on the screen from the Wall Street Journal.
Yes, very good.
Talking about, okay, so this was horrible. Is this a risk at other major bridges? And basically the answer is yes. They document these 8 U.S. bridges are vulnerable to a repeat of the Baltimore crash. Modern spans must have safeguards, but even robust structures might not withstand a direct blow from giant ships. So there are a lot of questions here about what needs to be done, not just in rebuilding this particular bridge to enable, these mega ships and to try to guard from this ever happening again, but also at these other spans around the country, what potential updates and upgrades and safety procedures can be put into place to make sure that we learn the lessons here and don't have a repeat of this horror.
Yeah, no, it's really worth reading this entire thing because it demonstrates just, again, how the ships have become supersized, the vulnerability, the lack of regulation around a lot of this. And it also highlights the same problem where the only reason that we had the updated law was specifically because of a bridge collapse in the future. And now, there's all these questions right now that have come to light around whether the federal government should pay for something like this. I also think it will be very instructive as to how well this is done. Apparently, inflation adjusted, this bridge cost around $400 million to construct whenever it was built, inflation adjusted dollars. So then that's going to be a big question. It's like, well, have we lowered the cost? Is it going to go exponential? Is it going to be billions of dollars? If the feds are going to pay for it, what will exactly be included in terms of the updated infrastructure for this, for not? And there's also, obviously lots of corruption that we should be on the lookout for. We can put the next one, please, up there on the screen because this is highlights exactly what I was talking about. You can see exactly the size, quote, of a new ship when the bridge was built, which is tiny, minuscule compared, quote, to the size of a new ship that exists today, and even minuscule whenever you compare it to the cargo ship that crashed into the Baltimore bridge. Don't forget, this ship is relatively new. It was, built in Korea by Hyundai. and demonstrates that even since that time period, they continue to increase in size and in scale. Some of the graphics that they have in front of us are just literally stunning to behold. Just comparing a 2023 ship to a 2015 ship, this one, that crashed into the Baltimore Bridge. And it demonstrates, again, why we're going to update both infrastructure and thought and need for this, because this is already impacting a ton of travel, shipping, and infrastructure in the entire DMV, the Baltimore metro area as well. It's becoming catastrophic, and as I already said, it could turn into now a multi-billion-dollar boondoggle whenever they're actually trying to fix it, of which I really hope they do and they get it running as fast as possible.
Yeah, so just for comparison's sake, the ship that crashed into the Baltimore Bridge has the capacity to carry 10,000 containers. The largest ships that exist now can carry 24,000. Now, Baltimore port was not equipped for that level of mega ship, so you would never see like a 24,000 container ship in that particular port. But this is the size that is now being enabled around the globe. So, as you mentioned, Saagar, this is a huge blow to global shipping. It's a massive blow to the city of Baltimore, which really didn't need this. I mean, in terms of the economic impact here is going to be extraordinary. There are going to be a lot of workers, dock workers, who are out of work and who are really struggling. While this bridge is being constructed, all of the estimates I've seen, it's going to take years.
It's going to take a long time.
It's going to take years for this bridge to be rebuilt and for this port to be fully back up and functional. So huge impact there. Huge impact, obviously, in terms of traffic and congestion. I mean, this corridor is one of the busiest and already one of the most congested in the entire country. So that's going to be an extraordinary impact as well. And, a lot of questions here still about exactly, it looks very clear there's some sort of like a technical failure. The electricity went out, impacted the steering, et cetera. I mean, that the outlines of what happened, it seems like we know. But there's still a lot of questions that have been raised by our friends at Lever News about whether this type of ship really, whether it was ever safe for this size of ship to be navigating in those areas, whether those proper safety procedures were in place with regards to the shipping company, whether they were following procedures, whether safety regulations were, appropriately followed, whether the ship was maintained properly. So there still are a lot of questions about exactly how this unfolded.
That's right. We'll continue to stay on the story, keep everybody updated. It's, it still remains one of the most important stories in the country. I think it really captured a lot of people's attention too. And, just it's such a horrific situation, the idea of being on the bridge, the fallout, the bridges being something that we go along with all the time. And, there's something symbolic about, too, this great American city already on the downswing, the bridge falls apart. Can the government actually reclaim some of its glory like it has in the past, rebuild something like this, possibly even better? And I think that story is going to be very important for us.
Yeah, and the heartbreak of those 6 workers.
Oh, yeah, it was horrible.
Most, if not all of them, immigrants to this country were there on the bridge in the middle of the night, fixing potholes and at great risk to themselves and ultimately losing their lives while trying to make people's commutes a little bit easier.
Yeah,
so
true.
Our heart breaks for them and their families as well. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.